What's the story, guys? Welcome to What Happens Here, Las Vegas' newest sports and entertainment program. We got another legend in the building! Welcome to What Happens Here. His confidence, composure, and expertise in the ring is second to none. He's been respected by sportsmen and women all over the world. He's had more blood and guts on him than John Rambo, and he loves every second of it. He's been called a pioneer, a legend. He's the world's most famous cut man in sports history. But don't take it from me. Check this out.
When fighters fight, their souls touch.
Dottie, get up!
When I get in there, it's just me and that fighter. And it's one-on-one, and I've had fighters cry when I'm wrapping their hands.
Stitch!
Trying to set Creed up one more time. Stitch has done a great job over that right eye, but now the left eye looks like it's almost shut.
Closing up. You're good? I'm good, all right. Sure about that?
It's taken a lot of punishment to both the body and the head. Left eye completely closed.
Let's stop this thing.
No, let me see the eye. Time! Doc, give him a look.
Show me your eye. Show me your eye, Donuts. How many fingers? How many fingers? How many, Donuts?
4,
And again.
2.
It's a father-son type of bond, and that's the way I look at these guys, is they are my children. When they're in the ring, I'm going to take care of them just like I do my children. The way I look at it is if you look good, you feel good, and you perform good. Chuck Liddell fought Vanderlei Silva. That fight, I just heard these guys cracking each other. I mean, and I'm thinking, you know what, these guys are gladiators. These guys are modern-day gladiators. What I would tell Jacob, the 20-year-old Jacob, is follow your dreams, brother. They do come true.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome to What Happens Here, the legend himself, Stitch Duran. What's up, my brother?
Hey, man, you know, on your introduction, you said composure, right?
Yep.
Brother, you gave me chills with that intro, man. That was awesome.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome. And, you know, there's a lot of nice behind-the-scene things that happen in that movie. The Fingers, that was the last-minute thing that Ryan Coogler, the writer-director, asked me. He said, Stitch, what do you think? I said, man, let's do it, you know. And that falls in that same category as the old famous Cut Me Mick, right?
Cut me, Mick.
Yeah, cut me. I told Sly, I said, you know, how many times I've had to educate people because they ask me, do you really cut them? And in reality, you don't, you know, because number one, we're not doctors. You're performing surgery in a dirty ring, so that doesn't happen. And the same thing with the fingers. You know, that's more Hollywood, because if your eye is completely closed, they're going to stop the fight. But no, I appreciate that. And even the Stitch, when Michael B. Jordan yelled out Stitch, it was in the wintertime in Philadelphia. The gym is in the second floor, and it's freezing outside. So we're on the stairs going downstairs. I didn't see what the scene was. All of a sudden, I hear, Stitch! And I start running up, and I said, no, that's part of the scene. Well, it wasn't scripted that way. But the next day, as I'm wiping Michael B. Jordan's hands, I said, look, I just want to let you know, Michael, I'm not a kiss ass. I don't do anything like this. But I want you to know that that was a very powerful statement. And the reason why, because my job is to take care of you as a fighter. And you knew that we had just walked out of the gym, so it's just you and Rocky. And when you yelled out Stitch, that was an instinct, because you know I was the closest thing to take care of you. And you know I wasn't that far away, but he kept it in the movie. So
trying to separate it being, because you're so used to people calling your name and you running them to help them,
yeah.
When he yelled that out in the movie, it was just your instinct to run up there and see what was wrong, right?
Yeah, of course, because we were on the stairs going down, so we didn't see what was going on, and I didn't know what the scene was. And all of a sudden I heard Stitch, and he threw that in there, you know, so became part of the movie.
How did it feel watching that then on the screen, Stitch?
No, I'm telling you, it gave me chills, man. You know, I've done a lot of interviews through my time, Marcus, and that introduction was probably the best I've seen overall, hands down.
Well, thank you very much. So I'm honoured to have you in here in the studio. So what's been happening? First of all, how is everything going since the pandemic, man? Are you working as much, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, you know, I've been really blessed, man, and just things that happen. And, you know, before the pandemic hit, I had big fights. I had Tyson Fury, worked with him. The week after, I had Jesse Vargas that fought Joe Parker. They both fought on the zone. And then the week after, I take that back. I had Triple G before I had Tyson Fury.
Wow.
But the week before, I was in New York for fights March the 14th with Shakir Stevenson. So I get there Thursday, and this pandemic is now starting to kick in, and they're telling us, well, we're going to have fights, just no audience. So I said, good, as long as you throw a blow, I get paid.
Yep.
But Friday morning, they said, no, you know what, they canceled the fights. I came back home, and from that point on, we were on lockdown, and there was no work. And so Brad Jacobs, the CEO of Top Rank, called me, and they put a program together with ESPN where they have what they call the bubble, and we did 13 shows in 6.5 weeks. But the scenario was great because we walk into the MGM, then the 12th floor is exclusively for ESPN people, Top Rank people, and of course the fighters. Security was there. Nobody entered unless they were checked. So I get in Sunday night. I get tested. I stay in my room till Monday morning till I get cleared. And of course, you know, Monday is the weigh-ins for the Tuesday fights. And then Wednesday we get tested again. But basically I did interviews, and it was a boxing version of Shawshank Redemption, Marcus, because literally when you weren't doing what we're supposed to be doing, you're locked up in your room.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I did 13 shows, and tonight I check in again. So they have 10 shows coming up for series number 2, but these are only on weekends. So I'll check in Thursday night. After the fights, Saturday I'll go home.
Now, how do you feel about performing when there's no audience? Is there a big difference with that?
Yeah, I've been through that before. I did so many other reality shows. I think the Ultimate Fighting, UFC reality shows, I did like 20 series of those. So I was used to no audience. But no, you know what? Top Rank in designing the studio or the bubble, it's pretty awesome.
Well,
you know?
I mean, it's about going through adversity, right? Now, this is something that you're used to. You're a Mexican-American.
Yep.
You grew up on the farm. You were picking peaches and you were picking tomatoes. You had a dream. You were in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You had a vision and a dream of what you wanted to do. When was the first time that you thought to yourself, I want to be a cut man? Where did that come from, and when and how long ago was that?
Well, it's, you know, yeah, I've had a crazy life, and I'm quite proud of it, you know, just to be where I'm at. But, you know, when I got out of the Air Force, I lived in Oakland, and I got into boxing to improve my hands because I studied the Muay Thai system and Taekwondo. And,
in Thailand, right?
In Thailand, yes.
That's right.
And so I moved to the suburbs, Fairfield, California, and there I started working with Dennis Alexio. He was the world champion kickboxer. He was the brother with Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie Kickboxer.
Right.
So I started working with him, and then I had my own gym, and I started working with fighters, and not only was I a coach, but I was a manager, and I promoted fights, but I also liked working as a cut man. And that just kind of floated to the top. And I think I've been here 25, 26 years. I made the move to Vegas. I told my wife, I said, you know, I want to follow my dreams and be a cut man, and I want to go to Vegas. And at that time, it was only boxing. And, man, I packed up my family. Well, I got a job transfer. But I took it like a $25,000 a year cut and pay.
Yeah.
But I had to be there like in a week, and I talked them into 2 weeks. And anyway, in 2 weeks, I transferred my school to a student, sold my house, put my family in a U-Haul, and drove like 9 hours to Las Vegas. And here I am talking to you, Marcus, you know.
So you had that in your head from the beginning. I want to come to Vegas. I want to become the greatest cut man of all time. Was that your mindset? Or were you just like, I want to work for a good promotion, I want to do my job? Or did you think to yourself, you know what, I'm going to be in a freaking movie with Sylvester Stallone, and I'm going to be the best, most famous cut man in the world? Was that in your head?
Not at all.
That
Not
just
at all,
happened
brother.
by the universe opening up her legs and saying, Stitch, this is yours, baby, take it.
Yeah, of course. You know, at that time, I wanted to go, you know, baseball was always my game.
Right.
I wanted to be a professional baseball player, but growing up in the San Joaquin Valley in a small town and going to college with no car, I just left and joined the military. But I always knew I was going to be a pro in something. I just never knew I was going to be in this position. But boxing, you know, I wanted to come to Vegas. I was good as a cut man. Of course, I was good as a trainer. I was good as a cut man worldwide in the kickboxing industry. So I had my minor league work there, and I figured, you know what, I want to go to Vegas where the big boys are at. And at that time, it was only boxing. And so I made the move. And, you know, like I said, to take a $25,000 a year cut and pay, you have to be a little crazy,
But
right?
it's not about the money in the beginning, is it, Stitch?
Never is. But,
That's
you know,
right.
And that's why, you know, the support of my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
So everything that I do is for them because they let me follow my dreams. And you know, for that, I'm very thankful.
So who taught you the fundamentals of the cut man industry?
I learned on my own, you know. in those days when it was only boxing, Marcus, I never forget, and I'll tell this story a lot. And I was watching a fight. Bone Crusher Smith was fighting Marvis Frazier, the son of Joe Frazier, in Richmond, California. And this one cut man in one of the fights earlier did a great job in stopping the cut. So I went up to him. I said, hey, look, I'm trying to learn to be a cut man. Can you tell me what you did? Wrong thing to ask a guy in those days. He says, F you, I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me.
Whoa.
I felt about this big, man.
Wow.
But, I used that as a motivation because I said, I'm never going to be like this guy. My job is always going to – I was a martial artist anyway, so my job was to teach. And that just kind of reinforced the facts that I didn't want to be like this guy. So now I go back to the Bay Area with Andre Ward, one of the world champs I worked with. We fought in Oakland, and who do I see? This guy and his son, and he forgot, but I never did because it inspired me. Well, now he wants to take a picture with me, so I felt quite accomplished at that moment, of course.
Yeah.
So my job now is to teach. It's if ever I leave a legacy, it's that I made this game a lot better.
Yeah. So when your job is to assess the cut, to fix it to the best of your ability in 90 seconds or less. Actually, is it 90?
It's like 40 seconds, bro, 45. If you're good, 50 seconds, norm.
Yeah.
You got a minute break. By the time the bell rings, by the time you get into the ring, by the time you start working on them, 50 seconds if you're good.
So obviously the doctor is the one that can overrule everything that you say, but is there, even though you're the expert on the cuts, does the doctor ever go, all right, Stitch, you think it's good? Okay, let's keep going.
Of course, all the time. And now I'm working bare knuckle fights. So we go into commissions that aren't very, very strong, and the bare knuckle fights has they have a program which I think I like. I think MMA should implement it because cuts are inevitable in bare knuckle fighting. So if a fighter's cut and all that and bloody, which happens all the time, the referee could call timeout. He brings him to me and the doctor, and I have 30 seconds to work on him to see if he could continue, and the doctor makes the evaluation whether he can continue or not. But he's the one that says, well, what do you think, Stitch? I said, yeah, let him go. So, of course, the doctors know that, I'm there to take care of the fighters, and I've been through a lot of these situations where I know whether the fighter could continue or not.
So that was going to be another one of my questions. When you see a cut and you know it's pretty devastating, what do you say to the fighter to keep them calm? Do you let them know the severity of the wound?
No.
You just so what kind of things do you say to keep them calm? Because that can probably be a little bit scary for some people if with a 6-inch gash over their eye that's gushing blood. What are the kind of things that you say to them to keep them calm?
Oh, you're good, Marcus. Yeah, good questions, bro. But you know what? Psychology is an important part of my tool, and it's something you just can't go to school to learn. You have to understand the situation that these guys are at. Like that quote that Kevin Kelly says, when fighters fight, their souls touch. Well, literally, you get inside their souls and you understand them because they're all babies deep inside, but you got to take care of them as that. But when you see a big cut like that, you go there, you just try and inspire them and say, hey, man, shit, you're looking good.
Yeah.
You're looking handsome. This is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I got it covered. Boom, go on out there. And like Andre Ward. Andre Ward got cut one time, and he's fighting, and he's saying, during the fight, he's, I got cut. And then he says, well, you know what? I got Stitch with me. So that means a lot to me.
Do you think that when the fighters know that they have you in their corner, that gives them that little bit of extra confidence? And due to the fact that I've heard you say that they're like your children, do you think being a dad and being a caring man, that also plays part in what you do?
Oh, yeah, 100%. But, knowing the heart and soul of these fighters. Right. And that whole theory of being your father came from when Lyoto Machida, when he fought Rashad Evans, when Lyoto won the world title. And, his father's very shogun, very Japanese, very proud man, right? And Lyoto, I've worked with Lyoto. Every time he fought, I wrapped his hands and worked with him. So I had a nice bond. But after the fight, I went into the dressing room to congratulate Lyoto, and his fighters there and just sitting like shogun. And in front of his father, he says, Stitch, he put his hand, thank you. He put his hand on my shoulder and says, in the ring, you are my father.
Wow.
And that gave me chills. And to get the approval from his father at that point just meant so much to me that I use that to harness their confidence with me. I'll sit down like this series I'm doing with Top Rank. There's so many fighters that I work with that I've never worked with before. So I'll go in there and I'll sit with them and I'll talk to them and I'll let them know, look, my job is to make sure you walk out as handsome as you walk in. My job is to give you that one more round, and I'll take care of you like you're my son. So I'll leave that mentally into there because during that point, man, these guys are getting ready to go to battle, and you have to understand that.
truly an amazing. I mean, people don't realize the importance of the cut man, and I think that they don't know that side of it. They don't realize the psychological side that you have. You're stitching and plugging these guys up as they're fighting. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe their mother or their wife is watching, but you're like an angel on their shoulder that's helping them to maybe get through that next round. And without you there, it wouldn't happen. How gratifying is it to know that you're such an important part of this industry?
Oh, it's tremendous. You know, and like I say, we talked about it earlier when I moved there. It's not about the money. Yeah. You know, it's about goals that I could accomplish and things that I can make a difference in a fighter's career.
Right.
You know, like these two brothers from Australia. You know, I changed their lives. You know, I'm working these guys. One guy's a world champ, and the other guy's a top 10 Maloney's, right? And they come, oh, Stitch, man, you're a legend, man. It's a proud honor for you to work with me. Well, it's an honor for me to work with you.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And that's just kind of the way things work. But it's you know, you got to be there in the trenches to really understand the heart and soul of these guys, and I've seen it.
Due to your experience and the amount of fights that you've done, you've probably done thousands, right?
Yeah.
Can you look at someone's face and think, fuck, this is going to be a fucking bad night, man? That's good.
Yeah. I've had some fighters that are bleeders. You know, you hit them in the shoulder and they bleed up here, right?
Right.
But for the most part, no. You know, I mean, I've had guys Marcus, that have said, man, I never get cut. Brother, you just gave me some work. Right. So,
right.
You know, you always prepare for the worst case scenario.
Right.
But yeah, that was a good question, man.
Yeah.
I'd be laughing.
Do you like for instance, like Nate Diaz, who's an obvious bleeder, is that due to scar tissue? So once they get that removed, does that soften does it make it more, how can I word it? Once they get that scar tissue taken out because of the damage that they've had, does that make it, okay, look, we can go for another 5 years now? Is it the scar tissue that makes it bleed so easily, Stitch? I'm really not sure about that.
I'm not either, you know, and like I say, and the theory of using Vaseline. You know, Vaseline is used so that the puncher can slip off and you don't get cut.
Now, is that a fact or is that a myth?
Well, it has to be a myth, bro, because I get more work than anything, and I apply a lot of Vaseline on these guys. Of course, in theory, the gloves do slip. Vaseline is a Vaseline that, yeah, it will slip, but does it prevent cuts? No, it's just the impact.
So that's what you stuff in the cut is the Vaseline. Does that coagulate the blood, or does it just stop it from coming out?
Well, the medications that we use, the one you see on the swab that we'll put into the cut, that's adrenaline chloride 1000. That's by prescription only, and that's a vessel constrictor. So you put it on the cut, and like I say, you have to visualize what that medication is doing. So once you put it in the cut, it's literally closing up the blood vessels.
Right.
So you have to do that, and then the Vaseline that we put in at the end, I mix it with the adrenaline chloride 1000, and then I'll use that as a final topical. So as you do it, being Vaseline doesn't absorb liquid, you whip it enough to where you create little bubbles, and that it will house that adrenaline. So as you spread it over the cut, then you'll have adrenaline still. So it'll just give it to that. There's another one that I use called Quick Aid. It's a gauze pad. It's 100% natural, made out of a seaweed base. And you put that on the cut, and what it does, it dehydrates the blood. So those are the applications. But, you know, even though you have those tools of the trade, it's how you use them and when you use them that makes the big difference.
So what about a lip cut? I remember that cut that Robbie Lawler had.
Yeah.
How is that? I mean, if that happens earlier on in the fight, it's pretty much over and done with, right? Because how do you can't clamp it together.
No, it's not. You know, you can't let cuts like that freak you out. That was actually the last biggest fight I worked with the UFC, Robbie Lawler against Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
But going back, if you remember Stefan Struve,
he's about 7'7", right?
Yeah. Well, he was fighting Chris. I can't remember the guy's name to this day, but his lip was shredded. It looked like a shark just bit into it. And the doctor comes in, and he's looking at it, and Stefan still wants to fight, right? And when you look at cuts, you don't look at the severity, you look at the damage it's going to create, whether it gives a fighter a disadvantage. That's blood in the eyes or too much blood or optical nerve, or those are things you look at. Well, Stefan was okay. So the doctor's looking at him, and I'm working on him, and I tell the doctor, I said, well, look, man, he's going to be okay if you got a good plastic surgeon.
Right.
And with that, he let it go. But in doing so, the guys in the truck that were filming it, they heard that comment, and they all started laughing.
Yeah.
Stefan went up and won the fight.
Right.
Robbie Lawler, that was a big cut, but even though it is bad, it really doesn't take away from his performance, or it shouldn't. If it did, then you start thinking about stopping fights.
Unless he got kicked in the face again in that lip, but it can only go up so far.
Yeah,
so what about? I mean, I know obviously you're in the change room before you're wrapping the hands. Who has the biggest hands that you've wrapped?
For me, it's been Brock. Brock had some real big hands, and just wrapping his hands was always a blast. Because I would shoot the shit with him every time I worked with him, and he wanted nobody else to wrap his hands but me. So Brock had to be the biggest. Guys were saying Shane Carwin never wrapped his hands, but they were saying that he had to wear 5X gloves. That was a myth because Burt Watson, we created gloves for Brock Lesnar and Shane Carwin, but they were 4X. And when I was putting the gloves on, we only had 2 pair for each fighter. I was putting the gloves on Brock, and just like the Hulk, bro, they ripped. And I'm thinking, oh, gee, what's going to happen? Burt Watson is saying, Stitch, we got to do something, man. We only got 1 more pair. So working with the Klitschko brothers, they would always put Vaseline on their wraps and then put the gloves in. So that's what I did with Brock. Slid them in. The glove that ripped and that pair, he autographed them, and I got them in my house. but they're like big catcher's mitts, bro.
Big sausage fingers, huge big cats. All right, I've got a couple of friends that signed a couple of gloves for me. I want you to tell me what you think when I send you these. All right, this one's Mike Tyson.
Yes, Mike is. Mike's pretty awesome, man. We used to train at Golden Gloves Gym years ago. Actually, I did a documentary called Boxer's Nightmare. I interviewed Mike right before he got his tattoo. A week before he got his tattoo, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, but Mike Tyson's always Mike Tyson. So I always wanted to do pads with him because I used to be a trainer, right? And we were in the same gym. And I ended up doing like 2 weeks worth of work with him.
Wow.
And then he had left because he was getting a divorce and came back, and Freddie Roach was working with him. But, yeah, Mike is a legend. He's fighting Roy Jones. Of course, I'd love to work that fight, and we'll see what happens.
Do you know who this one is? 50-0.
Mr. Mayweather?
That's him.
Yeah. But you know what now? Look at these signatures. Every time I write a signature or an autograph, I do it where people could read it.
Yeah.
Because if he wouldn't have had 50-0, I wouldn't have known who he was, bro.
All right. Here's another one. Here's one of my favorites. Conor McGregor.
Conor, yeah. That's awesome. He's a good man. I worked Conor's first fights. We'll go behind the scenes. I'll give you some behind the shit.
Well, that's what it's about, man.
So I worked with Conor in the corner when we were in Sweden, Stockholm, and he ended up winning quite convincingly. And I go in the dressing room, and I said, "Man, Conor, you're a hell of a fighter." I said, the Irish are the Mexicans of that side of the water because you guys could fight and you guys could drink, right?" And
you took the words right out of my mouth. I've always said that the Mexicans remind me of the Irish, and the Irish remind me of the Mexicans.
Yeah. So, I've worked with him and all that. But now going forward, you're talking about Floyd Mayweather. When Floyd was fighting Conor, all right, I'm working a Bellator show at Madison Square Garden. I think it's New Year's Eve or something like that. And I walk into the dressing room, and his coach is there. And, hey, Stitch, what's up, man? Listen, I want to talk to you about working with Conor. I said, yeah, of course. I'd love to, So we're talking a little bit, and I take off, go back to ringside, do work, and I come back into the dressing rooms later on. And he said, I just spoke to Conor. He likes the idea. I said, shit, so do I. It's a big opportunity, right? And so he said, all right, well, Conor's people will get a hold of you, and they did. So we went over particulars, and I had some fights already scheduled. And the question they asked is, Conor and John want to know if you could cancel those fights because they want you in camp every day.
Wrapping his hands
and all that when he comes to Las Vegas. That was like in June or July, I think, when the fights were.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, of course. The position is such a monumental fight that I'd be glad to be on it. So my attorneys, send them our offer and all that. They came back real quick and said I was too expensive. And no counter or anything like that. But then,
was that then?
That was then. But that goes to see, I didn't know at that time that he was going to be training at the Apex Center with the UFC. But I think, the staff, somebody above John and Conor had made a decision that it's not a good idea to bring Stitch in after we fired Stitch. So,
okay.
So it had to be a little political because if they would have came in with a counter, I would have took it just because of the position that was in. But there was no counter. You're just too expensive. And then, even John apologized and said, hey, man, Sorry. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
What about coffee? You drink a lot of coffee?
I do. Of course, it's funny. I'll drink a cup of coffee about 11 o'clock at night, bro. I love coffee, 2 in the morning and 1 at night. And my wife and I drink one at night. She's saying last night, I got to stop drinking coffee at night. I'm going to start drinking tea, but we'll start tomorrow.
So what did you think of this Founders Coffee?
I love it, man. Right off the bat, I'm a big coffee aficionado, man. And like I say, I'll drink 2 in the morning, and I'll have 1 at night. But then if I have Mexican food at home, then of course you got to have coffee to go with that.
Well, speaking of coffee, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is sponsored by Founders Coffee, the most tasty, the most delectable coffee here in Las Vegas. You can catch it on Decatur, right across the road from IKEA. If you use the promo code WHH, you'll get 10% off your order. Founders Coffee, it's happening. Also, one of our other sponsors here at What Happens Here is Baller Balm. Baller Balm is an amazing beard balm. Now, the scent is actually it's so great. You can put it on any part of your body. It's great for your hair. It's great for your beard. And, of course, it's made by my good friend, Jay Baller. We're going to put all of that information at the end of the show so you can find out where you can get it. It's when your beard needs to be money. Man, so...
Hey, does Baller Ball work on mustaches?
My friend... Come on, mate.
My man.
My man. My man. Of course, yeah. You're gonna love that. So everyone wants to talk to you about the Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yeah.
Now, it has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. I have seen it so many times that when I found out that I was getting to interview you, I immediately called my mum. I immediately called my dad. I said, "You're not going to believe who I'm going to be talking to today," and they were so happy for me. And I'm a little starstruck right now. I have to admit, Stitch. I'm not going to bullshit around the corner here. But when was the first time you actually saw the man himself, and what was that conversation like?
It was shit just happens to me, man. It just, but the way everything started off is, I've been like 6, 7 movies with great actors, right? But who gets to do a movie with Stallone? I've done 3 movies with Stallone.
And a Rocky movie.
And a Rocky
Creed
movie.
1 and Creed 2.
Yes, exactly. So what happened there, Joe Cortez, the referee, called me. And he says, they're doing a movie, and they're filming here in Las Vegas, and do you want to be a cut man? Well, at that time, I had a world title fight in Paris, France with Fabrice Tiozzo from Paris, and then another the week after with Audley Harrison, the gold medalist heavyweight from London. So I said, man, I can't do it. I got these 2 fights, and, I can't do it. So I called my wife at work. I said, God, I got offered this movie to be in Rocky Balboa, or this offer, but I can't do it because I got to go to Paris and I got to go to London. She goes, are you crazy? She goes, Rocky's an American icon. And at that time, Marcus, I'm on the computer literally. I'm sending a message to the team in London, negotiating the fees and the airfare and all that. And I sat there for about 30 minutes, and I thought what my wife said just kept resonating in my mind. And, man, I pressed delete, and I said, look, between now and then, I got offered this opportunity, and they understood. And it turns out that the Tiozzo's fight got canceled anyway. So I get there, and I'm working the corner with Antonio Tarver. And but Sylvester Stallone wrote, directed, and acted in Balboa. And I spent a week there with him. But I got to see him at his finest. I was in awe. Oh, man. I was literally in awe just to be there. So, yeah. But going fast forward, remind me to tell you a story, man. Going fast forward, I'm working the corner with him, with Michael B. Jordan. And you don't think that's not a mind blower, bro? It blows my mind. Literally, it blew my mind. And I told Sly, because we spent like 6 weeks at a time in Philadelphia. So I said, man, I can't sleep at nights. He goes, well, what's wrong? He goes, man, I'm in my room at night, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm here with
fucking Rocky.
I'm in with Sylvester Stallone, Michael B. Jordan. He says, hey, you earned it. And I thought, man, what kind words from him,
Is that a highlight of your life?
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, who you name one person that's done 3 movies with Rocky?
Well, I know one. His name's Jacob Stitch Duran.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course it blows my mind, bro. I'm still that little farm working kid that was picking peaches, tomatoes, cotton. That's still me. Right? That's me, Holmes.
Man.
And but just to be there, and then Michael B. Jordan tells me, I'm wrapping his hands because I spent 6 weeks every day, wrapping his hands before we go to set. And the dressing room, it's just him and I and his buddy Royce. And I'm telling him how proud I am of the young generation, how Ryan Coogler and Michael and Tessa have really just gone up. He looks at me, and we're closer than what you and I are. And he says, Stitch, we've gone from being actors to writers, producers, and directors. I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want. Wow. That didn't, and then all this shit kicked in, this pandemic. Because normally we would film April, March, April, May, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But Michael B. Jordan, let's get it on, brother. But you know what? It's a mind blower. So talking about a story, Sylvester Stallone is sharp. And I told him, I said,
Very intelligent man, high vocabulary, knows his shit, right?
And he knows his game in boxing.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, I'm really impressed with you on the work that we're doing in the corner because we have a 1-minute thing. And everything that he did, giving Michael the instructions and all that, was within that 1 minute. So that's pretty impressive to know that. Yeah. So we're on break, and everybody always confuses. Well, they say I look like Edward James Olmos, right?
I do. You're way better looking.
But I do. Yeah, but I do. So anyway, we're on a break, and Sly and his friend Frank are there, and we're there with the makeup people, and Frank is really stroking these guys. Oh, Stitch, he's a legend. He's this and that, and he looks like Edward James Olmos. And Sly's like this, and without skipping a beat, man, he says, more like Edward James almost, and walks away. I said, oh, man. Talk about like your counterpunch. I couldn't have a counterpunch with him, but just for him to say those words, I was honored.
Wow. Well, you know what? My business partner, Michael, he said, make sure you don't bring up that he looks like that actor because he's probably sick of it. I was like, okay, I won't. See, he brought it up himself, brother. Michael, he brought it up himself, mate. No. So you mentioned Antonio. When he was obviously acted in the movie with you and with Sly, what can you talk about him as a fighter, as a person, and how did he match up? How did Sylvester Stallone? Did he get hurt in those scenes?
No, it was great because the things, they had 12-ounce gloves. Normally they fight in 10-ounce, right?
Right.
And so they had 12-ounce gloves, and what they did, they took the original padding out and just put some real fluffy padding in there. So when they made contact, they could still be an inch, 2 inches away.
Right.
But you could see the contact, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought, was very ingenious.
Yeah.
But he's a super guy, super guy, very humble.
Yeah.
Very good at what he did. And there's one scene when if you remember, he throws a punch and he hurts his hand, right?
Yeah.
And he goes back and he's saying, oh man, I hurt my hand. Well, when I interviewed Mike Tyson, one of the things that he brought up was because I asked Mike, every fighter has that one little thing that nobody has. What's that one little thing? And it's true. And he very simply says, take the pain. You got to take the pain. So during that filming, when he tells his coach, oh man, I hurt my hand, I said, take the pain. You got to take the pain. Well, shit, they ad-libbed it with him, the coach saying it.
They stole your line.
They stole my line, so I didn't get residuals on that one, man.
You did do you did a few ad-lib lines in there too, right? That they kept in the movie.
Yeah, no, of course. And then even with Creed 1 and Creed 2.
Get out of the dressing room.
Everybody out.
Everybody out. Everybody out.
That's
right.
And then on the first one, hey, Rock, come here. Yeah. When they call about his results, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Rock, that was my $1 million lines because I get residuals.
Do you really?
Yeah, big time. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when this pandemic kicked in, like I said, I had these fights, which did well, but then I got a real nice residual check. On the first one, I brought my son a car. He paid me back, but I bought him a car, that way he didn't have to pay. So and I still get residuals from Here Comes the Boom, from Play It to the Bone, and so those they call mailbox money. They just show up.
Oh man, I got to get some of that mailbox money, brother.
It's great.
I got to get some. Now you talked about the padding in. Now I got to ask about this because there was a bit of controversy. Obviously, it's absolute bullshit that came out about Tyson Fury and the glove tampering. Now, obviously, you said you wrapped his hands, you put the gloves on. That was affecting your reputation and your name. Inadvertently, it was. If it was, which it wasn't true. How did you feel about that, and how did you react to that, and where did that even fucking come from?
Idiots. But no, I didn't wrap his hands. Sugar has been his trainer, and he's been wrapping his hands. I came into camp like 2 weeks before the fight.
Yep.
And even though I wrap hands, I'm not one to say, hey man, Marcus, let me wrap your hands. I do a better job. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
If they asked me, then I would come forward. But as that was stupid. It was ignorance.
Yeah.
And I normally don't respond to dumb people. But in a situation like that, I had to educate them. And it's these YouTubers that just try to create fans and get numbers under their belt and all that. But all that was it was an idiotic thing. Number one, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is one of the best commissions, and the reason they have guys there to inspect when you're wrapping hands and when you're putting the gloves on, so
that shit doesn't happen.
you don't tamper.
Yeah.
But in the same token, the other team always sends a guy into the dressing room to observe.
That's
So
right.
that was a bunch of bull.
Yeah, that's going to be frustrating when people come out and try to talk about something they know nothing about, right?
Yeah.
So, Bellator now?
No, not Bellator.
Invicta, you've done Invicta?
I've done Invicta, I've done Bellator, I've done PFL, but there was a group that signed up here, FFC, Fighting Fight Championships at the Rio. They were doing shows, so I signed an agreement with them to go exclusive, but all this pandemic hit. Scott Coker got a hold of me the other day, but I'm doing this top-ranked things right now, which is great because I don't have to travel. And the bare knuckle fight, same thing with that. They're going into their second show, I think, but I don't want to travel. I'm not ready to travel yet. They're just too unpredictable.
You've been to many countries around the world. Do you know how many?
No.
What's your favorite?
I like the Gold Coast in Australia. That is pretty badass, though.
It's one of the greatest places in the world.
I had a great time there. The fans there were tremendous, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Right.
It's funny because I get into Brazil for the first show ever that I've done in Brazil, and I walk up to the customs agent to the booth. Stitch, bonvenido.
So they just know who you are automatically. So your passport could be expired and they'll still let you through, Stitch.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't want to take no chances, bro. But it was funny because the cops, they'll do this sign over their eyebrow.
Wow.
And I remember we were walking the beach one time, and they have the palapas, and this whole family's there, and I'm talking to them and all that, and I'm talking to this mother, and she has a new baby with her. All of a sudden, she pulls out her breast and starts feeding them right in front of me. So, adios. I'm out. But those are the kind of things that I get. I get a lot of respect from a lot of people, man. It's nice.
Do you feel famous, Stitch, when you're out in public? When everyone recognizes you everywhere you go? I'm sure you're constantly taking photos everywhere you go, right?
Yeah, no, I'm still the same guy. I think Mike could probably attest. I've never changed my personality, and I go back home and guys said, "Man, you're this or you're that," but you're the same. And I remember one of my friends, we're in the back of Chulo's house and drinking beers, and he said, Jacob, you really inspire us. And as I'm driving back to Vegas, it's like a 9-hour drive. I'm thinking of that quote, and I'm thinking, me inspiring them inspires me.
Right.
So as you see the fights, now you'll see my cornerman jackets and all that on the collar. My little town's like 1,500 people, all farm workers, but I have their name of the town, Planada. So I always represent the people. It doesn't mean a lot to all you guys, but it means a lot to these guys that I didn't forget where I come from, and I think that's probably my strongest point. But no, I don't feel let me give you a story, man. Randall Cunningham used to play quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? So before I moved to Vegas, I've been in Vegas 20 something years already. I came here to do a boxing show. It was a Don King show, and after the boxing event, they have the after-fight party, and it's me and my 3 brothers, and I'm nobody. I'm still Jacob, right? But we're talking to Randall Cunningham, and one of Don King's guys comes up to him, and they say, "Hey, Randall, I need to talk to you." He says, "Hold on. Let me finish talking to these guys." Man, I never felt so important in my whole life. Wow. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be like Randall. And he's a pastor here in Las Vegas. I haven't met him yet, but when I do meet him, I'm going to relay that story that, you just reinforced that it pays to be respectful to everybody. And I always stop and take a picture. And I remember one time I'm leaving the MGM and people are flocking me, and security said, "Hey, man, we could take you to the back door." I said, "Why?" Shit, I like this. Why not? So no, I don't feel famous. It blows my mind though that, I'm in Tokyo in the Tokyo Dome, 90,000 people, and I'm dead center. I'm at Wembley Stadium with Klitschko when he's fighting Anthony Joshua, 90,000 people. I'm doing these movies, and it's just things happen.
Well, that would go to most people's head. 90% of people in the world that were in the position that you were in, it would go to their head. Was humility installed into you by your parents?
Yeah.
Because my fiance is Mexican American, and I just know how much she respects her parents and listens to what they do. Was your dad kind of someone that helped guide your humble personality and your amazing calm energy?
Yeah, of course. My father and my mother, they were leaders per se in the positions that we were in. My father was, he was a foreman. So he would always hire the workers to go work the crops. And so he tabulated their times and all that. And I remember one owner says, well, you know, Ben, you guys haven't started. I said, no, they start on my time and they finish on my time. So he had control. So he was always a leader. But my mom and dad would always help migrants as they would come into town, because my town from 1,500 people in the summertime would get like 5,000. All these farm workers would come in from Arizona, Mexico, Texas, you know, just all over to come work the crops. And my father and my mother would always give back to these people. When Cesar Chavez made his famous walk from Delano to Sacramento, I was a young kid, I think 12, 13 years old, but they walked literally through all the little towns, the back roads, and they came through our town, and we housed them up at the park, and you know, we had a celebration, and the families took them in, all the people, and they washed their clothes and they fed them and all that. And so they were always with doing the right things. And this thing, when the UFC kicked in, John Nash from Bloody Elbow asked if I'd be interested in doing an interview on how it affects, the Reebok deal affects the cutmen. Well, then I go back to when my parents were always fighting about unfair practices for the farm workers. And if I wouldn't have said anything, I know they were both passed, but I know they would have been disappointed. And that's what motivated me to go out there and speak the truth.
It's unbelievable, because the amount of people that I have spoke to about you, from Bellator to UFC, fighters, people that work in the production in the industry, a few different actors that I've spoke to, every single person has said just such amazing things about you, about how you're just such a great guy. We love Stitch. The one thing I heard most of all, I miss Stitch. I can't believe how much we miss Stitch. Yeah. I can see, and I kind of knew that from what everyone was saying, and I believed it. But I actually seeing it now, it's like, kind of, I want you to be my dad now for a couple of months. That's got to be such a great position to be in, that everyone loves you, man. Yeah. And not just for who you are, not for what you are, but for who you are. Yeah. The heart, the compassion, the love, the father figure. Plus, you're an expert at the game. That's a real achievement, man.
That's so easy to do, bro. You know, if you were born like this, right? It's so easy to do. You just continue doing that, and now it's you know, being all success that has happened to me. Everything. It's never gone to my head, because I'm still that guy. You know, I'm still Jacob that grew up as a farm worker. And I think that's my whole motivation, and you know, that inspires me more than anything.
So look, guys, for anyone out there in the industry that's looking for a little bit of advice on how to succeed, how to prosper, how to go all the way up and nothing can stop you, it comes down to exactly what this man just said. Be humble, be kind, be passionate, have a dream, move forward. Coming from humble beginnings, that's definitely solidified who you are as a man. Coming from the crops to becoming a movie star with Sylvester Stallone, the most famous cut man in the world, it's just such a great story. That's why I really wanted to talk to you, because I'm inspired by that, as a lot of people are. And just talking to you now, you're a regular guy and a great guy, that's in an extraordinary position. So thanks, man. I really, and you know what? Can we I got a little surprise for you, actually.
All right, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
So
can I say shit?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. I got a little surprise for you, because you know, I wanted to reach out to a few people. And you know what? I'm not even going to say anything. Stitch, just check out the screen up here, mate.
Hey Stitch, you're the man. Best cut man in the business, best hand rapper. You did my last fight, remember? Well, is it my last fight? We'll see. Yeah. But I love you. All the best in Marcus Podcast. See you soon.
Morning, the mighty Jacob Stitch Duran. How you doing, brother? Just want to give you a shout out. Heard you give me on Marcus Deegan's What Happens Here podcast, and I couldn't resist giving you a shout out. Much love, brother. Best cut man in the sport. You do so much for all of us, keeping us safe, keeping us healthy, giving us all your knowledge. So keep it up, brother. Do what you do. Stay healthy and safe during this time. Much love, brother. Peace.
I'm looking forward to hear what Jacob has to say. In our eyes, in the Cutman game, he's going to go down as a legend, like Muhammad Ali has for fighters. He's going to go down as a legend for Cutman.
How'd you know Andy, man?
What he's done for the game, what he's done for the health and safety of the fighters, it's unbelievable. Like, you know, the way he keeps his fighters nice and relaxed before the fight, the hand wrapping skills, everything. I myself, I use an ice well. I use Stitch Premium. That's Stitch's ice well. He designed this and manufactures all this himself. Now, the reason I like this, I'm using this for the last 6 years. So any cut men that are out there and in the game, get one of these. Really looking forward to hearing what he has to say. And the best of luck with the podcast, Marcus. Good luck here from sunny Ireland.
Hey, Stitch Duran, it's the Magic Man, Antonio Tarver, and I just want to say thank you for all the years that you dedicated to the game. You are appreciated.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chuck Zito, and right now, it's an honor to give a shout-out to my main man, Stitch Duran, the best cut man in the business. Hey, Baba, it's been a while since we saw each other. Yeah. And I've been home hanging out with Bernie Sanders over here. But until these arenas open up again, whether it's boxing or MMA, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. I'll be right there with you. Keep on punching. Until then, I'll see you when I'm looking at you. Ciao.
Wow.
Is that a tear in your eye?
Yeah, it is. You know, I've had many great moments with every one of these guys. Chuck Zito, I think last time I saw him was at Madison Square Garden. I go up to the stands to see my grandson, and he's there, you know. And so thank you very much. Yeah, I did.
You know what? It was very easy to do. Yeah. I just reached out to some of those people, and without hesitation, they did it straight away. You know what? I probably could have got another 50 people on there.
I appreciate
But obviously, there's only a amount of time that we can do. But I wanted to do that for you because even though I don't know you, I have so much respect for you. And just from what everybody said about you, I'm like, I got to get some people to say hello to this man. So did you like that?
Oh, I loved it. That was great. Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate it. And, you know, you were making that statement before this about, you know, follow your dreams and this and that. And my granddaughter just yesterday, you know, she's 7 years old and she's learning how to do cartwheels and she's real good at it now. But I mentioned to her and I mentioned to these people that the first time is always the hardest. Once you accomplish that, then it becomes easier and easier and easier. So I asked her, I said, well, what is, you know, so she said, the first time's always the hardest. So she understands, you know, and everybody else is, you know, go for it. Follow your dreams. And, you know, not everything is going to be successful or 100%, but first time's always the hardest.
Everything's not rainbows.
Not rainbows.
That's it, man. So, well, that was going to be what I was going to finish up with. But how was your experience here today?
Oh, it's great, man. Thank you for a beautiful interview. Great studio. Thank you, Michael, and the whole gang. You guys are special, man. But got to do it again, man, because I still got a shitload of stories, bro.
The ones that we can tell on the air?
Yeah, anything. Yeah, I'm game. No, but I tell you, I got more stories than anybody. I've just been blessed to work with as many fighters, so many fighters from around the world. And just to be in these situations, to me, it just, you know, that little kid from Planado, man. So it does happen.
Well, brother, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. I've just been so excited about this interview since I found out that you were going to come on the show. I had a great time researching you, and it's probably, I'd have to say, one of my favorite interviews to date. I would love to get you back on the show sometime, and I hope that maybe we can do this again. Yeah. Anything that you'd like to say on a parting word, Stitch?
No, I think you guys did a great job, man. I appreciate it. You know, it's nice for me to, you know, get back to work and, you know, do these shows. So, you know, they're Saturday nights on ESPN, so check them out. And, but no, let's do it again, man. This is, you know, some things you just have fun doing.
Yeah.
This is one of the moments where you just have fun doing it. Yeah. And I'm game to do it whenever you want.
Fuck, I'll get you in next week as a co-host.
Yeah, okay.
No, the host. I'll be your co-host.
Yeah. No, it's funny because, you know, that's what happened. I came in. I did a radio show for like 10 years. It's called The 13th Round, Nick Ward. But I came in as a guest just like this, and his co-host had left, so he asked me if I could fill in for a week. And, you know, 10 years later, I'm telling him, you know, I'm so busy I can't do it no more. But, yeah, of course, I love doing this. And, you know, as BJ Penn would say, it's talking stories.
That's it.
And that's what we do.
Yeah. You know what? I abandoned the questions. I'm like, I'm just enjoying talking to you.
Yeah.
I just want to find out. Well, once again, man, thanks very much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget you can catch this episode on Spotify or on our YouTube channel. On behalf of myself and everybody here at What Happens Here, Stitch, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.